Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. Right, welcome to this Ask Me Anything session, or known as the AMA session. So I'm Jien, or somehow getting called by student as Uncle Su. Right, so I'm the Uncle Su here. And today I have a comp science student here with me, Joel. Right, say hello to everyone.
Hello. My name is Joel. I'm a year 2 computer science student. Oh, you can see here. Yeah.
All right, so before we go any further, maybe we'll just do the quick housekeeping. So there's some information that we like to draw your attention to. So this is actually today's program. You'll notice that we are now at the last session there, right? So if you just tune in, don't panic. Everything before this is somewhere is recorded, and then you can actually find it from our social media channel. So these are actually all our social media channels. You can actually ask questions or comment right in our live chat. And this is our Discord channel, which is actually manned by a huge team of operators at the moment. So if you have any question, right, so feel free to actually post on them. Right, they are manned in these hours. Right, so today's Wednesday is 10 to 6. So you can actually ask a question for 2 more hours. Again, if you miss anything today, you can go on to the channel right in these hours right, listed below. Okay, so just a quick note that we actually have a new session on this Saturday, which actually talk about a new program at the School of Computing. So this Saturday, 1 to 2 p.m. is a Zoom webinar, right? So please, if you're interested, right, take down the note, right, and then make sure you actually find the link, right, to join the session. And this is actually the secret mission, right, for the Gather Town. So if you have been following it, there's actually a secret mission, ongoing secret mission, right, from 10 o'clock this morning until 6 p.m. I believe the very final last clue is in this session, right? So please stay tuned and find out. And if you actually want to actually have some experience on the Gather Town, right, so these are additional event that you actually can take note. I believe this is already over by now, right? The famous prof band in Gather Town, right, from 2:30 to 3:30, right, just now. And these are other talks right, that you can have, right? So Gather Town is actually an online virtual platform that you can actually have a go, right, to actually experience different kind of platform. And if you need to find out more, right, if our session doesn't actually answer your queries, these are other channels that you actually can get to us. So you can go to this link to find out the admission details, our program at the School of Computing, and finally, you can always email us, right, in the last link. All right, so with that, I think the house is properly put in place, right? It's properly kept. Now we actually can start our chit chat, right? So first of all, I would like to comment our interesting attire. So this is actually to us very formally dressed, I guess, right? So Joel, is this how you dress most of the time?
First of all, I don't. I'm wearing shoes now. I don't usually wear shoes. I wear slippers to my lessons sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here, I guess in computing, we actually have the very informal vibe. So even for us, wearing something like this means something very, very serious. Like to us, this is almost wedding level kind of dress in a sense. Okay, so I guess today we actually have Joel here, which actually can share some of his experience as a student here. And maybe I'll just play the interviewer here, right? So ask him some question and so on, right? So Joel, you mentioned that you're now year 2, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm
So
year
year 2, second semester, right? So
year
you
2,
have
second
taken
semester.
your fair share of modules, right?
Almost like half done already.
Half done.
It's quite crazy. Yeah. It's
Oh,
quite
okay.
fast.
So it's probably wrong for me to say, but I think the more interesting thing is yet to come.
Oh, I'm a bit scared.
Yeah, year 3 and year 4, you actually go into more specialized module, right? So they are usually more challenging, but also more fun at the same time, right? Okay, so for your first year, you have taken maybe about 10 modules in that 1 year. So can you tell us what's your favorite module in that year, if you can recall and share? Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite module is actually CS 2100. It's called Computer Organization. And it's a module that's actually taught by Prof. Colin, who was here earlier in the day.
Okay.
And the reason I like this module is because I find that while other modules teach you a lot about, different coding languages, learn about these specific languages, but CS 2100 teaches you the fundamentals behind the coding language. Like, I always wondered, how does the computer actually like read my C code or read my Python code,
Okay.
And like, how does it actually process all this?
Okay.
So like, it delves deeper into the abstractions, and like it teaches you how code goes from C code to assembly, and then it goes to the ones and zeros, which is
okay.
they always say like computing starts from binary, right? But I never actually knew until I took this module. So
Okay, so after that you can speak fluent binary, I guess, in a way. So we like to say that when you start to learn coding happens by magic, right? So you code something, then magic happens. But here in school computing, we actually tend to try to open up all these black boxes, right, and show you what happened below. I like to joke, right, with the students that normal driver, they don't need to know how the car is built, right? But then we are not training normal driver here, right? Training race car driver, right? So they actually have to know how the engines are set up, right? What are the gears, what are the tire ratio, right? And so on, right? So that's why we actually have some modules that is not typical, right? So you may think, oh, it's coding all the time, but turns out not to be the case. And it's actually quite interesting that that's your favorite module.
yeah, it's I think people will like love and hate that.
I see.
It's a mixed bag.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the most memorable experience you have in that 2100?
Most memorable experience. So I thought I had the impression that in CS we'll be mostly dealing with the computer, but I actually got the experience to run the logic board and
okay.
like
The
plug
logic
some wires.
trainer.
Yeah.
So you
which
get to
never-
turn on and off some of the lights and so on.
Yeah. Nothing too like technical, too deep into the logic board, because that will be like in the realm of computer engineering. But yeah, just to dabble with some of the logic gates, because I like to play Minecraft, when I was younger. And a lot of the redstone components.
redstone.
I actually understand what the redstone does now.
Okay. So they actually, someone mentioned that you probably can teach a course like that entirely in Minecraft. So we are yet to have a prof that's brave enough to do that. Right? So maybe in future someone can actually try that. But you'll be surprised, right, to see that many of these ideas are actually there, right, exploited, right, by some of the games and so on. Right, so that's actually our first year, right? So, but other than like studying, is there anything else that sort of like make it memorable for you as a first year? Yeah.
I guess making YouTube videos is something I enjoy. So on the side, I actually do have a YouTube channel. It's my name, Joel Wong. Yeah, shameless plug. But yeah, I do enjoy making YouTube videos about my life in computing.
Yeah.
And I'm also in charge of a club called Developer Student Clubs.
Okay.
So we're actually coding tech solutions for non-profit organizations.
Okay.
And
the
we also run
CBWO in a sense.
Yeah, something
related
like
to that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why today we actually keep the conversation very calm, right? Because he has a YouTube channel. I don't want to end up there getting bashed, right? Just joking, okay?
Yeah.
So you can see that Joel actually has a lot of other interesting adventure on the sideline. So other than studying, I think computing is quite happening in a sense, right?
Yeah, it's not all coding every day. There's I still have my fair share of like uni life, campus life, and that's a big part of my life as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess I've been playing the interviewer for too long, right? He feels like under
under pressure,
interrogation, right? In a sense. Okay, so now I give you a chance, right? So ask me anything, right? Start from you, right? So what do you want to know? Yeah. Any question?
Actually, I asked him this before, but a lot of people are curious, like, why are you called Uncle Su?
Okay, so it sort of started as a reminder to myself, right? So I got my first son, so I tell my class that, you cannot call me Yuen Jien anymore, right? Because now I'm old enough, I have a kid, right? So just call me Uncle Su. then somehow the name just stick, right? Now, so it get to a point that's quite ridiculous. My colleagues from other faculty, they don't know Yuen, they just call me Uncle Su. Right? Then I realized, to console myself, this is actually pretty good long-term planning. Because in 20 years' time, everyone will be grandpa or whatever. Then I'm still Uncle Su.
Right.
So I earn, right, in a sense. Right, so that's how I got my name. Right, so unfortunately, right, for good and bad. Right. Okay.
Yeah, and curious to know what was your specialization when you were in uni, which must have been like how many years ago?
Okay,
Yeah.
so that would be like a bit too revealing. Probably it's close to 20 plus years, I guess. Right. So my specialization, interestingly, is actually related to what you just mentioned. Right. I was actually specialized in computer architecture. Right. I study how CPUs are made. Right, and what kind of CPU are there and so on, right? So it's quite exotic, but somehow it's actually give us a good experience to teach 2100 and 2106, which is an introduction to operating system for the student, I guess. That was really like ages ago, I guess. Okay. So now I feel the heat, right, from the question, right? So I need to turn the table around. So we just mentioned your first year experience, right? So now in your second year, do you actually notice any big change between the 2 years? Like booklet wise and things like that? Or is it similar, just different topic?
I think year two, the change will be because I have more commitments from like the other activities, CCAs that I decided to take up. So I think that's a lot of the change for me for year two. In terms of the modules, I would say the modules are going to becoming more specialized. So I find that I'm learning less general concepts, less like coding, just coding in general. Like you're moving away from, just for loops. You're going into very specialized, like one whole module just about databases, or like one entire module about software engineering itself. So
yeah. So in a sense that brings back to the design of our curriculum, right? In a sense that we start off with the foundation, right, the general concept and so on. Then by year 2 and year 3, we deem you like have sufficient fundamental knowledge. Then you get to actually choose your specialized knowledge, right? Go into each of the module. Like we mentioned, right, previously, they are usually quite challenging, but then they are also very in-depth, right? So if you really like appreciate the particular topic, you get a lot of kick out of it, right? So to say. Okay, right. So that is something by design, doesn't happen by accident, hopefully. Okay. All right.
Maybe
so
some of the questions from the audience.
Okay. So I guess we have chit-chat enough. Maybe we can take a look at some of the question. Okay. So we have a question here. How do you know computing is for you, especially you have no knowledge about computing? So maybe Joel, you start first. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've had experience answering this question myself because when I first applied to computing, I did not have any knowledge about computing actually. The reason I found out about it because my friends were looking at the list of uni courses, and then obviously we'll look at starting pay, right? And then like, whoa, computing has the highest starting pay, and then we all got curious, like, what is computer science, Yeah. So back then it was only until I started, like, I applied for computer science, and then I decided to go online and search out some courses. So I know it's not an NUS course, but I actually took this quite popular course called Harvard CS50, and it's from there, like, they actually taught the fundamentals of computing, like C, and also some higher level languages like Python, web development. So these are a lot of, they basically touch base on a lot of the big areas in that computer science does. So if you are curious to find out, whether computing is for you, and especially if you have the luxury of like 2 years, not say luxury, but 2 years of NS, then you can go online and take some of these courses.
2 years. Okay. All right, so I guess that is actually a pretty realistic answer, right? So I really didn't know that the student will actually do sorting by starting pay, but now I think of it, that's a very pragmatic way of looking at the courses. But that aside, right, although this may actually pique your interest, but I really like how Joel actually find out more about it. Right? So it's important to realize that you're not choosing a discipline for the next 3 or 4 years, but rather you are choosing a potential line of work that you are going in for like the next 30, 40 years. Right? So you need to make sure that you actually have the passion and the interest in the field. then you actually should go for it, right? So trying out some of the online courses, right, to try your hand on maybe basic programming to see whether you like that kind of problem solving and so on. That will be a way to actually know whether this is something that will really interest you, right? So I think that's a great start. Yeah.
Right. But to answer the question more specifically, I think in general, if you are someone who enjoys problem solving, not necessarily coding specifically or like making apps, but if you enjoy the idea of problem solving, I think computing will be a field that you will really enjoy.
Okay, so to give the audience a better understanding of problem solving, because it's very generic, right?
Yeah.
So would you say like if you enjoy escape room kind of thing, but will you enjoy the kind of are they similar kind of problem solving?
In a way, I would say, sometimes the problem solving is like requires you to have to draw references very well between like different parts of the code. It's not specifically like math problems per se, but yeah, that kind of like logical thinking.
Okay,
is the kind of problem solving that
okay,
CS
so that again is a good point. Although computer science has its root from mathematics, it's not exactly like the normal mathematics you experience in your secondary school or your JC or your poly. Right? So it's good that you actually expose to the problem solving experience before you sort of take the plunge into this discipline. Okay. All right, so I guess that question is well answered, I hope. All right, so let me get to the next one. Okay, so now we have a question about on the website, there are 10 com science focus areas. Okay, so when do we go about selecting your focus areas, and is there a limit? So I think you're about that time to make this decision, right? So maybe you can share, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually haven't really chosen a focus area yet, but I am interested in software engineering. Is there a limit?
Limit as in, I think this probably refers to how many focus areas you can be in.
Right.
Yeah.
I think commonly among people I know, either they choose 1 or 2. Yeah, no more than that, because I think beyond 2 is a bit hard to squeeze modules, and frankly, you would be like, I would say you'll be like a jack of all trades, but maybe you won't master as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so
to lend some context to the question, essentially when you go into a so-called focus area, there will be a number of so-called primary modules that you have to take, and then there are a basket of other like elective, or maybe that's not the right name, but then other modules you can choose in that area. Once you have taken sufficient number, then you are declared, right, to be in that particular focus area. So because of that, technically you can have many, but then you can see that you have to like find a ways to take all those modules. So it's really not practical, right, to go beyond like 2, I guess, right? So 1, I think, is good enough, and then you can like just pick your interest, right, from the rest of the modules, right?
Yeah.
So when do you need to declare this? Do you remember?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you actually have to declare it. I think you can actually like take some modules.
It's actually
and
upon when you file for graduation.
Graduation, right?
Right. So they will check whether you meet this focus area. So I don't think there's a specific time that you actually need to declare for this.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but let me look for confirmation. Right. So is that correct?
Frantically looking around.
So I think we'll get back to you on that, but I believe that should be the case. So we'll get back to you on the actual timing. Right? Our understanding is that you make sure you actually meet those primary and secondary modules. Then you can do it as late as by the time you file for graduation. If you meet those requirements, then you actually declare in the particular focus area, I guess. Right? But we will confirm with you. Okay. All right. So can we maybe take a look at the next question, if there's any? Okay. So the next question. While doing CS, can you choose engineering module like bio, medicine, like computer engineering, and so on and so forth? All right. So I think this question. Okay. I will first give the very broad context. Right? At the moment, I believe most of the discipline in NUS, right, has sort of condensed the core, so that it actually gives more flexibility to the student, right, to choose modules from other faculty. In a sense, facilitate your second major, your minor, and so on and so forth. So you probably can take up any module with a double code as long as you have the modular credit to spare and you have met all the prereq and so on. Right? So that's actually my take, right? So Joel, have you like considered this problem, like taking some other module?
Right. So yeah, I actually have tried taking modules from other faculties. So I think there are two considerations. One is whether the module would fulfill your graduation requirement. So for example, in computer engineering module might not fulfill any of your CS mods. Then in that case, this module will fall under your unrestricted electives.
Yep.
So there's a limit to, I guess there's a kind of a limit to how many unrestricted electives you can take.
Yep.
Yeah. And the second problem would be that, second challenge I face would be that because modules tend to prioritize their own students, there's no guarantee that as a CS student you might be able to take a biomedical module because they will prioritize their students first.
Okay. So I guess that's again a very well considered answer, right, from the student side of it also, right? So the unrestricted elective, right, what we call the UE, right, is a basket of modular credit that is sort of can spend, right, on a general set of modules. Right, but like what Joel mentioned is actually an important consideration that when you apply for module that's not from your home faculty, you're not as high prioritized, I guess, right? So it can get challenging, right, if the module is very popular and things like that. Yeah. Okay. Right. So I guess that's the answer that we can give. Right. Maybe we take the next one if there's any. Okay.
This is your favorite question.
Okay. So the question is, what's the difference between computer science major versus studying comp science as a part of com engine major? All right, so for this, I have a sort of standard answer, right? Basically, it boils down to the question of what's the difference between com science and com engine, right? So we like to say that there are two worlds right now. One is the world, the physical world that we have right now. The other world is actually the world that you're interacting with us right now, the virtual world, right? It builds on digital technology and so on and so forth. Then, in a sense, com science live mostly, right, on the digital world, right? We learn the coding, right, networking, database, or whatever, right? You mostly live in the digital space, while engineering, right, for example, civil engineering and so on, they are more concerned with the physical world, right? How to build a building, how to build a road, right, and things like that, right? So com engines sit in the middle of the two. They actually need to take modules from computer science, and they also need to take electronic and electrical engineering modules from the engineering side. Okay, so they sit in the middle, right? So I guess this question will become, then it sounds like quite a good decision, right, as you actually now specialize in two fields. But everything in a sense is a give and take, right? So if you want to go broad, then you can't go as deep, right? So as always, this is the pros and cons. So you have to understand that the com science requirement for com engine will of course be quite a bit more limited, right, compared to the com science major. Right, so that's the most obvious because you need to also fulfill, right, the engineering side of the requirement. Right. Okay, so that's the most obvious answer, I guess. Right. So hopefully that answers the question. So for this, I think Joel will have a hard time, right? Because this is I think Joel is from comp science, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we can go back to the previous question, right, about the focus area. So the declaration timeline, I guess, right, you can declare it in advance so that you get priority. So this gets back to the priority of getting certain module. But you it's not necessary, right? That is the advantage you get by declaring early, right? But if not, then what Joel mentioned is actually true, right? So you make sure you actually get the set of modules, right? Then by the time, right, you file for graduation, as long as you meet those requirements, then you get it. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I consider that question now.
Yeah, it's closed.
Closed. Okay. Then we can move on. Okay. So okay. This is a very interesting question, I guess. So the question asks, is there any anecdotal stories or evidence of students who did badly academically, but were able to overcome and improve their scores? So I guess this question need not like direct just to us, right? Because I mean, as a student, Joel may have heard of some of these incident or cases before. So this I don't have a personal experience per se, but by chatting to colleagues, we actually know some interesting cases, right? So that they actually face some issues. Sometimes it's not about studying, right? Sometimes it's actually, for example, you have family issues or some other concern. You can't actually focus on your study. So you may have done very, very badly, right, for the first 2 years, right? Here, if you're not doing very well, right, you actually will get a chance to actually talk to a mentor, right? So my colleagues has a mentee that actually did quite badly, right, at the beginning, but in the end, it actually sort of turns around, right, and actually found a particular niche interest, right, in computer science and do pretty okay in the end. But in a sense, I also need to caution the audience that you should like attach too much to this kind of anecdotes, right? Because you always have outliers, right? Right. So you can have also the other extreme as well, right? So I'm not sure that you can attach too much value to this. So Joel, do you have heard any similar evidence examples before?
So I'm not sure whether this when you ask the question, do you mean like badly academically, like in A levels or
during the study here?
know,
I mean, could be
most
both
likely-
way. Yeah.
Right. But I think because in computer science there are a lot of focus areas and they're actually quite different from each other. So like even myself, I don't find myself doing like well for every single module. Yeah, there are some modules that I do well in, and there are some modules that I do badly in as well. And ultimately, I don't like beat myself up over it. You know, I just tell myself that we can't be good in everything, right? And yeah, so but students who did badly academically,
then I think they meant that later on they turn around and do well, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I think in general, as if you, what's most important is that you have the patience to like sit down and kind of understand like why you like where are your gaps in your knowledge and work on it. Which sounds easy, but it's actually quite challenging, especially when sometimes all your friends around you are like, I always wonder like, oh, how do they get concepts so fast and then I'm still here like struggling. So yeah, I think most importantly, as long as you have the patience to kind of work through your code or like work through your understandings, I think you will be able to improve regardless. Yeah.
But don't feel too badly about that, right? In the sense that we understand that when you learn something, to get to the level that you understand why you don't know certain things, that's actually quite hard than just simply able to do something, right? So there's definitely some gap of level there. So don't don't worry. But I sorry.
And I think one more thing is that in the first place, don't be too concerned about your results, because I have learned after 2 years here that results is really not everything. Like when I applied for internships, they don't necessarily ask you for your academic results. They're more interested in whether you are passionate, what projects you have worked on, and whether you take charge of your learning and like pursue your passion. So I think that's more important in the field than necessarily like getting A's for modules.
Okay. So that's again a very good point, right? So I guess there's a trend, right, in top tech company that they pay less attention, right, to just simply grades. They will actually look at whether you actually go beyond, right, what's actually taught, right, systematically in the curriculum. So like the pet project, right, so your passion project, that actually play a much bigger role, right, than just focus on the academic result. Then the other point that I want to go back to is what Joel mentioned is that if you're talking about computer science, right, as a whole, there are really quite a lot of different areas, right? So you can have software engineering that deal with development of software. You can go all the way to the other side, or you can actually try have artificial intelligence, right, and so on, right? So if you feel that you are not suitable for a particular area, you probably can actually try all others, right? So you may actually find your interest and passion, right, eventually. Okay. Right. So I guess that's what we can give here, right?
Oh.
Okay. So this one is for Joel. So let me read out the question, right? So Joel, so how was your study and life balance, right, in year one? I'll be honest here. Yeah.
So I'm actually staying on campus. So I would say that in year one, I had more life than study.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was focusing a lot more on participating in college activities or like making friends, you know, than actually like academics itself. So I think year one is actually possible to do that because there's this thing called the SU policy where you basically don't count your grade for that module as long as you pass the module.
Okay.
Yeah. So that actually helped a lot with my fitting, like acclimatizing myself to uni and, you know, giving me a lot of time to explore other outside of computer science.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that brings out several interesting point. First is that the SU system actually serves that purpose in the sense that we understand that the way that we teach in university is quite different, right, from JC or poly. So you do need some time to like a buffer, at least, right, to tide you over, right, into this new climate. But the other thing that I need to caution is that although the SU system is in place, but certain thing in year one is the fundamental, right? So you should still try your best to do well in them so that you can continue, right, to build on that, right, for the subsequent year. Right? But of course, right, the study life balance is very important, just like the work life balance, right, is very important for us. Okay, yeah,
Yep.
Right. So that's our answer. Okay, this sounds very planted. Okay, okay. So we have a question here. Right, so sounds like a very planted question, but I'll read it out. So this is addressed to Joel, right? So if you can collaborate with Uncle Su here, right, on a computing related YouTube video in future, what will you be? What will it be? Right.
Oh, I think very popular video concept, but I would like to know what's a day in the life of Prof's Uncle Su.
Okay, so I think if you do that, then you probably your viewership will drop by like a stone, right? Because if you ask around, if you now follow anyone, the day is really exciting. You'll be just sit in front of the computer. I go from one Zoom to the next one to the next one, right? So the Zoom background changes, but then your position doesn't change. Right, so I will strongly advise against that. Not a good idea. Okay, but we can see. We can talk about this.
But thanks for the video idea.
Okay, this sounds really like planted. Okay. So can we have the next question, please?
Okay, maybe I can read this question.
Okay, so Joel, please.
If I can't get into com science now due to my score, is it possible to apply to info systems first and then transfer to com science? So I've actually had some friends who wanted to do this. I would say that some of them succeeded and some of them didn't really. So it is a possible route, but it really depends on how well you perform for some of the key modules in your year one.
Yeah, so for this question, again, Joel will give the perspective from the student side. Then from our viewpoint, is that when you actually apply for transfer, you are effectively considered on the same bar, right, as other applicants, right? So essentially, you have to prove that you actually can reach that bar, right, before you actually can transfer over, and this is probably not recommended, at least from my viewpoint, because we shouldn't get into a discipline as a backdrop. Okay, so you want to get into something that you are willing to put in your time and effort, right, for the long-term prospect. Right, so at least that's my viewpoint, I guess.
Right, yeah, that's very true also, because there's no, ultimately when you get into a major, you cannot get into the expectation that, oh, I'm here just to transfer to com science. Like, if say that doesn't work out, then you wouldn't want to be stuck in a major that like you don't really enjoy.
Yeah,
so
that's also like a very important point. Right?
Yeah, so make sure that you look through the curriculum for info systems also, and make sure that it's something that at least you don't mind trying out. Yeah. And then the transfer to com science can be a secondary thought. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that I think is the best answer we can give here. So you can also try to ask for more recommendation, right, on our Discord, right, and so on and so forth. Okay,
Yeah.
so other channels. All right, so can we get the next one? Ah.
Oh.
Oh wow! Finally get a question that gets
Oh,
us
this is so
really
interesting.
excited. All right, so maybe you want to read out the question?
So the question is, how has com science affected you in unexpected ways? For example, in your personal life or in your worldview?
Okay, so you start first.
Okay, there's multiple dimensions.
Oh yeah, that's the interesting part, right?
Personal life.
Mm.
I would say that quite a bit of my time is taken up by com science. It's
Okay.
quite a demanding degree. So like I do find myself spending more time in front of the computer and trying to solve the bugs. And yeah, so that has somewhat affected my personal life.
Okay.
Although I really try to maintain a balance
Okay.
in my own. Yeah, so has
So
it
that is actually on the practical side of things, right? It take up your time,
Yeah.
your basically your time, right? So but has it actually changed your worldview so far?
I think it has changed my worldview in that I've begun to realize that these days a lot of the solutions for even like when you go to consultancy firms, right? A lot of the solutions they come up with are actually tech-based solutions. And
Okay.
even today, like in governments, in the private sector, you see a lot of the biggest companies are actually tech-related. So it has changed my worldview in that I realize there's a lot of power in our hands. Yeah. So
Okay.
like just you and your computer, you can actually code something that actually makes a difference, which is quite amazing, I find.
Yeah.
I know it sounds quite cringy, but I really do. I am amazed by it.
That's actually a tagline I used before. I basically tell the student that you are actually a superhero. You have this superpower that you can hide in your garage. I know we don't have garage here, right? So you hide in your bedroom, you cook something, and then you somehow change your world, or at least change your life for people. Right? So I think that's actually a great power in your hand. Right? And of course, then we can do the more cringy one, right? With great power comes.
Oh yeah, I just watched the movie last week.
Right, so that's also important. Okay, so I guess for this question, the interesting thing about com science is that because it's about problem solving, right? So you eventually realize, right, that the skill you pick up in com science, right, of solving a problem, sometimes it can land to some other real world problem. Right, so we tend to solve problem now by chopping into pieces. I think about how one piece can transform to the other and so on. Right, it's actually helpful in a certain way. That help you can actually solve real life problem rather than just coding problem, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
And I guess even more than like just maybe more personal than my worldview is like I sort of think of sometimes like when I'm sorting my clothes in the wardrobe. Not like,
Okay, don't tell me you do much sort.
no.
Okay, so how do you sort those selections out?
Yeah, it's mostly selection sort now. But
okay, I see.
I'm like, hey, wait, actually, when I arrange my poker cards, is there a more efficient way of doing it? But yeah, okay.
Okay.
A bit too nerdy.
Yeah. So that is a very interesting nerdy topic that you can go into, like for computing people, right? So talking about sorting is one of the pastime that we like, I guess. So that's interesting, right? So many of those things actually have a real life application.
Yeah.
So when we sort our exam paper, last time when we still have physical exam paper, then we actually do merge sort. We use the whole corridor and then we do bucket sort. Sort by the first digit, right? And then sort within each stack and so on, right? So it does help you to solve some of the interesting real life problem, I guess, right? So that's how I think com science has affected, right, the two of us. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's have another question.
How many days do we have classes per week?
Okay. The official one. Okay, you go with the student first.
Right. So I have semesters where I had classes every day. I have semesters where I squeeze everything into 3 days.
Okay.
But then I will die for the 3 days and then I have 2 free days. So it really depends on how you plan your timetable and what timings are available for your classes. So you will find that you don't have a fixed timetable. Every semester your timetable changes. One semester you can have a lot of morning classes. The next semester you wake up at 1 p.m. every day and it's okay. You know. So yeah.
Yep. So for that one, you have another geeky topic I call the bin packing, right? So, right. Interestingly, some students like to do bin packing. Basically, you try to like optimize your calendar, right, by squeezing as many classes as you can, right, in the smallest number of days. But like Joel mentioned, it actually looks efficient on paper, but it actually is harmful actually, right, to your learning, because usually after the class you need some time, right, at least to digest and understand what just happened, right, in the class, right. So if you pack it too closely, it's probably quite hard, right, to go through with any kind of real understanding, I guess. So maybe to help the audience to understand this properly, maybe you can relate to how many modular credit you take per semester normally, and then the MC sort of translate to some amount of estimated of hours per week, right? So I guess that will actually help the audience better. Yep.
Right, so usually in a semester you will take 20 MCs, which is about 5 modules. So among these 5 modules, each of them will probably have a lecture, a tutorial, and if it's a CS module, then there's a lab. So I would say 2 to 3 classes per module.
Okay.
And that's just a generalization. There might be more than that for some modules, but 2 to 3 classes per module, and then times 5 of that. So that's a typical semester for a sane, like, you don't overload, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that gives us about 25 hours. Is that correct? It's like 4 5.
Right.
Yeah. So 25 hours, I guess, per week. Yeah. So that's, I think, the ballpark figure.
It definitely isn't as intense as JC. Let me just.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. So hopefully that helped to put the number of hours in context. So maybe you can take the next question. Is it possible to do a double degree in business analytics and mathematics?
Looking to the.
Okay, so I'm looking to the vast operation team out there. Is this combo possible?
Maybe we have the next question while we wait for our
Yeah,
hand.
Yeah, this looks like something. Okay, so I read the question to you.
Yeah, it's addressed to me. So
yeah. So hi Joel, is there any strategy you use while coming to a decision in terms of deciding which course you apply for beside the starting pay?
Yeah, so I actually chose com science not all because of the starting pay. In general, I was actually like quite interested in tech at that point. So I was interested in like app development of some sort. So I figured that actually com science might be something that I would enjoy. But in terms of my other choices, I actually I just went to the NUS website and I looked through like different course curriculums and I see which one I wouldn't mind doing. You know, I wouldn't say I particularly enjoy all, but which one I wouldn't mind doing. So actually some of the ones that I applied to would be like mechanical engineering was one of my choices as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So more of the engineering side. So how did I decide?
Yeah, I think this is the strategies, right? So other than starting, but you sort of mention essentially your passion and interest, I guess, right? So those are a good way to start. And I think actually that the point you mentioned, like maybe you eliminate those that you probably don't like to touch. But it's also important that Joel mentioned that you actually look at the curriculum rather than just looking at the description, because I realized one of the very common problem for freshmen is that they actually got in the wrong field because of some misconception. Right. For example, if you think, oh, comp science is always just about coding, right? Then you get quite a shock, right? Then you realize you either miss an opportunity, right? Maybe you're a great problem solver, right? Or you actually not suitable for this kind of discipline. Don't know. Okay, so it's important that you try to find out more information, right? Expose yourself to this kind of different discipline, so that you can make a better decision, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And okay.
What is the difference between information systems and computer engineering in terms of module content and the number of modules? Okay. So they are very different.
Yeah, we pause for a while because this is probably the first time that we get this combo. Because they are pretty different. So the number of modules, okay, if you think about the core modules, can I have a quick confirmation? Are they about the same? I thought the core modules number is the same, right? Because we have the same MC for core modules. So the number is similar, number of modules is similar, but then the module content would be quite different, right? So maybe a good way to make this question productive is that computer science is, computer engineering, like I mentioned, is actually touching on both the software side and the hardware side, right, of computing. Then for information system, my understanding is, I'm not from information system, my understanding is you're understanding the IT technology and help to make a decision, like could be business decision and things like that. Right, so that is a really broad and probably budget out the definition, but in a sense they are really quite different, right? So in terms of similarity, computer science will be closer to computer engineering, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think my understanding of information systems would be building. It's about learning about enterprise systems for businesses. So it's in a sense more like the managerial aspect of computing.
Oh, I see. Yeah, thanks for the prompt. Yeah, sorry about that. Right, so thanks for the prompt. I think the reason, okay, now you actually give me more understanding of why this question actually pop up, right? Because the information system, right, it sort of skipped my mind, right? So I'm very sorry about that. Right, so for information system, they do have the so-called IoT modules, right? IoT is actually the Internet of Things, right? Basically talking about how tiny devices embedded in everyday hardware like your fridge, TV, and things like that, that actually can be grouped, right, gather information, right, and operate upon, I guess. Then information system also have modules along this way, right? So that I think is the intersection between the two. I now realize why you have this question, right? So there's some intersection between the two that I'm not aware of, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So
we can have the next question then.
Yep. Oh.
Computational biology. I believe that computational biology is a major itself. So
this one, I think we are probably both not very qualified to talk about this. We used to have a computational biology program, I would say, but now I don't think it's offered. But I believe this question I don't really have a good answer, right, for this. Yeah, because I'm not sure whether it's being offered from the life science side, right, for this computational biology. Okay, right. So it seems that we are getting very hard question now.
Maybe you can drop this in the Discord. Someone will be able to answer your question better.
Yeah, we were doing very well just now. Okay, so before we get to the next one, I will go back to the previous question that actually asked about the mathematics and business analytics, I guess, right? So it is possible as a customized double degree. You can actually check the Office of Admission, right, OAM, right, for further detail, right. So we do have some possibility of customizing your double major. Okay, yeah. All right. So I think then we can skip to the next, right.
Okay,
so I'll ask. Okay, so Joel, how do you actually meet people of similar majors in your RC? Right, you're in one of the residential college.
Yeah. So I'm actually staying in the College of Alice and Peter Tan, or CAP, and I would say that in CAP, at least for my batch, there weren't a lot of computing students because I think the general demographic of that CAP attracts tend to be less. Like there were just less people from computing. That's changing, but how do I meet people of similar majors? We don't intentionally meet. We just like in the college, because everyone kind of knows each other. So naturally, you'll just know who's taking computer science in the college, and we just become instant friends. Once we know that we are both in com science, we can cry together, then like we just make friends very easily. So you don't really have to go out of your way to meet people.
Okay.
Yeah, it just naturally happens, lah. So don't worry about that.
I guess that's also the intentional design for the
Right.
residential
Yeah.
college system, as in they want to bring students from different faculty and discipline to basically understand different kind of perspective and viewpoints. So they probably will de-emphasize the major
Right,
a
yeah.
little bit, right, in the residential college. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, most of my friends are not in computer science or even computing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they're in some other faculty. But you know, I
Mm.
find it interesting that I find it nice that I get to talk to people of different disciplines and learn about what they're doing
Mm-hmm.
outside of just talking about code, which is like can be exhausting sometimes.
Yeah. So yeah, that will help you not to be a geek.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. All right. So yeah, can we have the
Yeah.
next one? All right.
Oh, what? This is becoming a less of a computing AMA.
Okay, so this
But,
one is interesting. Let me read out the question, right, for the audience. What are some of the projects that you have done? Do you make the ORD counter? Yeah.
So yeah, I did make one ORD counter, and I made that actually after like doing the CS50 course. So actually, you know,
Okay.
yeah, that's something that came out from that, and it's not the most popular one, but it's like the one with the best UI in my opinion. So you can go check it out. Some of the other projects that I've done, after iOS development, I got interested in web development, like front-end web development.
Okay.
So I actually, firstly, one of the projects I worked on was this sort of forms response collection system for a non-profit organization
Okay.
for them to track their students. Yeah. So, and
Mm.
another project would be for Orbital, which is a program optional program in computer science. Actually, computing in general,
it's
the whole of computing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get to work on our own project during summer. So I actually made this like supper jio app for like, my
okay.
RC. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's some of the projects.
So interestingly, whenever we ask the student to come up with their project, like maybe 50% of them will be like food related. So that's why we actually know that's why all those food delivery apps is so popular nowadays,
Right.
I guess. Okay, so I guess we can take one last question, right, for our session. Okay, thanks. Okay. So yeah, this is this is a statement instead of a question, right? So Benjamin say, why Joe so cool? Okay. So thanks
that's
for
one
the
of my
last
friends. Yeah.
question.
Thank you. I don't really have the answer to that, but I guess
Yeah. Then I wonder whether we should like take actually one more question. Right?
Yeah, let's take another question.
No. I think we only have time up to this.
Oh, really?
Okay, so that's actually a good good closing, right? So Joe is very cool. Okay, so I guess that's all the questions that we can take. I think the remaining of the time that we will just chit chat a little bit, right, about the weather and things like that. Right, since you just mentioned about food, right? So I think an important question, right, that's very practical question that you should ask is that how's the food, right, in computing?
So there currently isn't a canteen in computing because we haven't got our new building yet. It's actually going to open soon. I just walked past just now. The bus stop is
It seems like
almost
it's
complete already. So we'll have a brand new canteen that is for computing. But right now we actually go to the arts canteen, and there's this store called Pasta Express that I eat quite a lot, a bit too much.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what I like to eat. I heard the mala also good, the jackfruit also good, chicken rice is decent. Yeah, so there's no shortage of good food, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you often like take a bus to go another faculty just for the food?
I actually don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess that actually proves that whether you're a foodie, right? So that you can actually endure a little bit of inconvenience, right, to get to the good food. Then you're a foodie, I guess.
How about you? Since you're here almost every day.
Again, you asked the wrong person. I think for us, we basically apply a very important computing concept when we choose food. Choose the shortest queue, right? So and by Singaporean standard, the shortest queue usually mean the food is not very good, right? So we tend to eat like not very good food, I guess, because we choose the shortest queue. Right. So there's really a lot of food options, right, around, right? So welcome to actually come and find out. So I guess here, right, is our problem, right, to highlight again, right, all the all kinds of platforms that you actually can reach us, right? So all the social media platform, and all the other communication channel, right? Discord, right? The website and the email address.
Yeah.
Right?
And then
There. Right, so we have to learn where to point to.
the clue.
Oh, the other.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is very important, right? So if you are actually staying with us for so long for this, right? That's very important, right? So this is actually the clue, right? For your secret mission, right? On the Gather Town, right? So please pay attention to it and don't forget. Okay. All right. I guess that's all the time that we have. So Joel, you want to say any last word to the audience?
Yeah, so thanks so much for your questions. I didn't expect some of them and they were really fun to answer. And if you have any more questions, yeah, do leave it down in the Discord. There's really a lot of people here to answer your questions. Like I didn't expect to see this panel of people. So and they are not actually just students, you know, they're actually apparently like there's a vice dean and some professors. So
yeah, it is a very overqualified operation team here. All right.
Right, and thanks so much for joining us for this call, and I hope to see you around in computing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for joining us. Thanks Joel for this very fun 1 hour. I didn't realize it's already 1 hour.
Yeah, I kind of want it to be longer.
Yep.
So,
right. So hope to see you around in computing. Yep.
Yeah. And I guess we'll collaborate on that day in the life of Uncle Su soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I find a day that we have 7 Zoom sessions. I show you. Okay.